He's a fake! He's a fake!
This movie shouldn't work as well as it does, but it's kind of perfect. Before we get into today's movie, this is part of my 25 days of Christmas movie marathon, where I'll be dropping a new review every single day this month. And today's movie is Elf, a movie that is so much better than I remember. Elf follows Buddy, a human who was accidentally raised by elves at the North Pole after accidentally crawling into Santa's sack as a baby. When he learns the truth about his identity, Buddy travels to New York City to find his biological father, Walter Hobbs, a workaholic children's book publisher who's on Santa's naughty list. He also falls in love with Jovi, who is a cynical department store elf, but his main mission is to help his dad get off Santa's naughty list and rediscover the magic of Christmas. It sets up Buddy's trip, it drops him right in New York and lets the chaos unfold, and in my opinion, part of what makes the setup work is how sincere it is. Buddy isn't trying to pretend to be an elf, he genuinely believes he is one because he grew up as one, and that in itself adds to the comedy because he just doesn't know any better sometimes, so he just does the wrong thing, and it just adds for some awkward and funny moments, or some just actually funny moments. And here's one thing that really stood out to me on this rewatch, it's how much heart this movie has. As a kid, I just thought it was a funny, just goofy movie, but as an adult, the emotional moments, Buddy's loneliness, his desperate need to belong, and the father-son conflict, it all adds weight to the story. And I guess just as an adult, you can see it from a different perspective and understand, oh, he's funny, he's goofy, but he still has stuff going on in the background that he's dealing with himself, but not making it everyone else's issue. You get what I'm saying? Anyways, I want to talk about some things I really liked in this movie. It's still pretty funny. Like, the jokes hold up a lot more than you think they would. Buddy has some really good one-liners, and the way Buddy interacts with New York City, it all still works. The scene where he apologizes to the fake Santa and then fights him when he realizes he's a fraud is still hilarious. Or when he answers the phone at his dad's office.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Put that down.
And that moment is actually pretty dumb, but still funny at the same time, and it's just so accurate to his character. And in my opinion, Buddy's positivity is honestly one of the best parts. It's rare for a Christmas movie to stay this wholesome without feeling overly cheesy or just forced. Buddy is insanely optimistic, but it never feels annoying. It feels genuine, and that's because Will Ferrell kills it in this role. He's not winking at the camera, he's just fully committed to the character, and that's personally part of the reason why I like a lot of his movies. While we're on the topic of the movie being wholesome, the movie is a lot more wholesome and emotional than you remember. As a kid, it's just a fun, silly movie, but as an adult, the story hits harder, especially the father-son conflict. Buddy's loneliness and his desperate need to belong somewhere, it just hits hard. And Walter is a workaholic who's emotionally distant from his family. He doesn't believe in Christmas. He doesn't have the time for anything except work. So when Buddy shows up and forces him to confront everything he's been ignoring, and in my opinion, that dynamic is what gives the movie its like emotional heart, apart from him and Jovi's relationship. And since I mentioned Jovi and Buddy's relationship, it's also really sweet. She starts out cynical and offstanding, and Buddy slowly breaks her walls down just by being kind and just genuine. And by the end, she's singing in Central Park trying to help save Christmas. And that arc works because the movie earns it. It doesn't rush her transformation. It just lets Buddy's sincerity gradually win her over. And I really appreciate that part of this movie. And really quick, the Christmas atmosphere is perfect. New York in winter, Santa's workshop, the decorations, the movie just has that cozy vibe, and it's a big part of this movie's appeal. The movie knows how to create that warm, nostalgic Christmas feeling without overdoing it. The snowy streets, the twinkling lights, the holiday music, it all adds to the immersion, and the contrast between the bright colorful North Pole and the cold gray New York City makes Buddy's journey feel even more significant. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the video, but Will Ferrell's full commitment carries the entire movie. He doesn't play Buddy ironic, he plays him sincerely, and that sincerity is part of the reason why the comedy works so well. Buddy isn't just a joke, he's a character who genuinely believes everything he says and does, and because Will Ferrell never breaks that sincerity, the humor comes from the situations and the scenes around him, not from the movie making fun of him. I was getting a phone call, but I'm back. Supporting cast is great too. James Caan as Walter brings the grounded cynicism that perfectly contrasts with Buddy's overly optimistic personality, and Zoe Deschanel, I think I'm saying that right, as Jovi is charming and relatable. And we can't forget Papa Elf. He's the heart of the North Pole scenes, I'm being completely honest. He carries the North Pole. Everybody commits to the movie and its tone, and if they didn't, I feel like the movie wouldn't work, or it might work, just not nearly as well as it does. Now, not everything everything is perfect, and I say this in every video. So I want to talk about something that didn't work for me and might not have worked for you. And that's Walter's redemption happens a little bit too fast. It works for the story, but I noticed the quick flip from I don't care to I'm proud of you, buddy. He spends the entire movie being distant and dismissive, but in the final act, he suddenly becomes the supportive dad Buddy always wanted. It doesn't ruin the movie or like distract you too much, but the movie could have used a few more scenes that make the transformation feel a bit more gradual instead of so sudden. And I'll be honest, some of the CGI just looks outdated, especially when they're in the North Pole. The stop motion style animals and the scaling effects with the elves look pretty rough in today's standard, but the movie leans fully into like the old school aesthetic, so it doesn't really take away from the experience. I just noticed it because I'm so used to big CGI movies. And I was never really a big Elf fan when I was a kid. I watched it maybe once or twice, but now as an adult, I can see why it was loved by so many people. The humor is smarter than I gave it credit for. The emotion is real, and the movie never loses sight of what it's trying to do. It's not just a comedy. Well, it is just a comedy, but stay with me here. It's a story about family, belonging, and the power of believing in something bigger than yourself. And I mentioned this earlier, but something that really stuck with me is how the movie doesn't just treat Buddy like a joke. Other characters laugh at him, sure, but the movie itself never does. If you kind of know what I'm saying, it respects him, and by the end, everyone else does too. That's what makes Elf feel different from a lot of other comedies. But with that said, I want to talk about the best moment, or what I like to call the golden moment in my videos, and that's definitely Buddy decorating gimbals overnight. It's just holiday joy, and the reveal the next morning with the music, everyone stopping in disbelief, it perfectly captured what makes Buddy special. He creates magic out of nothing. It's the moment the movie becomes more than just a department store with nothing but decorations and enthusiasm. It's such a simple but powerful moment. It's the first time someone in the real world sees what Buddy is capable of, and that's when you realize the movie isn't just about laughs or jokes. It's about believing in Christmas. And I really like how this movie points out how joy isn't childish. The movie shows that staying positive, kind, and enthusiastic isn't something you grow out of, but it reminds everyone around him that happiness spreads. Families can reconnect, and the holidays are meant to be shared. And I said this earlier, but at its core, Elf is about belonging and believing in people. And that's a message that never gets old. But yeah, if you've seen Elf, and I'm pretty sure you have, at least some point, if you're like me, when you're a kid, you watched it, but you haven't seen it as a grown-up or a teen, go watch it. It's just a fun experience, and I enjoy the rewatch, so I'm sure you will too. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, if not, that's completely fine. But with all that aside, thank you for watching today's review. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be dropping a new video every single day this month for my 25 days of Christmas movie marathon. Tomorrow's review is a big one, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. In the meantime, feel free to check out yesterday's video if you haven't already. And as always, stay curious and let's keep the conversation going.